You know, it feels like every single day there's a new AI acronym to learn. LLM, GPT, RAG. I mean, it can get confusing and fast. So today, we're going to cut right through all that noise. We are going to demystify the key ideas behind the AI you hear about everywhere so you can actually get what's going on. Let's get into it.
So if you've ever heard terms like LLM or GPT and your brain just kind of goes fuzzy, trust me, you are not alone. It can feel like this super complex web of tech jargon. But don't you worry, by the time we're done here, you are going to have a really clear, really simple way to understand it all.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big picture. What even is AI? Then we'll zoom right into large language models. We'll take apart the famous GPT, see how the real-world models actually stack up, and then we'll finish up with a little peek at what's ahead.
Okay, first things first. We have to build our foundation, because before we can really get into the specifics of something like GPT, we need to wrap our heads around the core idea that powers all of it, artificial intelligence itself. So everything, and I mean everything in AI, comes down to this simple loop you see right here. It takes in some information, an input, it uses what it already knows to learn and predict, and then it spits out an output. But here's the magic part. It looks at that output and uses it to get smarter for the next time. It's constantly learning from its own actions.
And seriously, that's the whole game. This little learn and predict cycle is the engine running under the hood of all AI. It doesn't matter if it's an AI recommending a movie or a super powerful chatbot. This is what's happening. So burn this idea into your brain, because we're about to build on it.
All right, let's start getting more specific. We're taking that general idea of AI, that loop, and we're going to aim it at one of the most powerful things out there, human language. And that brings us to large language models. You'll hear them called LLMs.
So what is an LLM? Well, it's really just a special kind of AI. Its entire job, its whole purpose, is to work with words. It uses that exact same learn and predict cycle we just talked about, but instead of, say, predicting the weather, it's predicting the next word in a sentence. It's all about understanding and creating language, just like we do. Which kind of begs a big question, right? If this thing is going to learn language, it needs to read. A lot. But what in the world is it actually reading to get so smart? Where does all that information come from?
The amount of information they consume is it's staggering. I want you to imagine an AI that has basically read the entire internet, the whole of Wikipedia, billions of websites, social media chatter, super dense academic papers. And get this, even the conversations you and I have with it become part of its learning process. It's like the biggest library in the history of the world.
Okay, you with me? We went from AI to a special kind of AI called an LLM. Now let's get to the one you've definitely heard of, GPT. And it's not just a random name, right? Each letter tells us something really important about how this thing works. So let's break it down. First up, the G is for generative. This is absolutely key. It means the model isn't just a fancy search engine. It doesn't just find information that already exists. It can actually create something totally new. An original email, a poem, a computer program. It generates brand new content. Next, the P stands for pre-trained. Now remember that gigantic digital library we just talked about? Well, this is where it comes in. Pre-trained means the model has already done its homework. It has spent a mind-boggling amount of time and computer power learning from all that data before you ever type a single word to it. And finally, the T stands for transformer. And folks, this is the technical secret sauce. A transformer is just the name for the type of AI architecture, but it's a total game changer. It's what allows the model to understand context, to know that the word bank means something totally different in riverbank than it does in savings bank. It gets the nuance. Okay, so when you hear people comparing these models, you're going to hear the word parameters. All you need to know is that parameters basically represent how much the model knows. You can think of them like connections in the AI's brain. A model with billions of parameters has a much bigger, more complex web of knowledge to pull from. The other big term you'll hear is context window. And this is simple. It's the model's short-term memory. If you've ever had a chatbot forget what you said 3 sentences ago, that's a small context window. A large one means you can paste in a whole novel and the AI will remember what was on page 1. It's a huge deal. So once you get these pieces, LLMs, GPT, parameters, context windows, you can start to see how the really advanced stuff works. For instance, you might hear about something called RAG. That's just a fancy way of saying the AI can look up fresh, specific information from an external source before it gives you an answer.
It's like giving it a cheat sheet for a test.
So, theory time is over. We have all the concepts. Now let's put it all together and apply it to the actual models you see making headlines every day. Let's see how they really compare. Okay, check this out. Before, this chart might have just looked like a bunch of random, big numbers. But now, it should actually mean something. We can see models like Llama 4 and GPT-4 have a massive number of parameters. That's their raw brain power, their knowledge. But then, whoa, look at the context window for Llama 4 or Gemini. That's their incredible short-term memory.
And here's the big takeaway from all this. It's all about trade-offs. You can now look at a chart like this and understand the strategy. One model might be like a walking encyclopedia with its massive parameter count, while another one might be better at analyzing an enormous document in one shot because of its huge context window. It's a balance between knowledge and memory.
So there you have it. We've gone all the way from the huge 30,000-foot view of what AI is right down to the nitty-gritty stats that define the most powerful models on the planet right now. You now have the fundamental vocabulary to actually follow the conversation.
So in just a few minutes, you've gotten the toolkit. You can understand the headlines, you can see what makes these models different, and you can cut through the hype. Which leaves us with one final, really big question. Now that you know how the pieces fit together, what do you think is the most important, or maybe the most exciting thing for us to go out and build with all this? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.